We have a special guest on today to talk with us about Utah versus Colorado, the Pac-12 Championship game that will be happening this weekend, and a little more on Lincoln Riley and Kalen DeBoer. And that special guest is none other than Jake Hatch, the co-host of Locked On Utes from, we all know Brian Brown. He's on here often. He's his co-host. So all that and more on Locked On Pac-12 podcast episode today.
You are Locked On Pac-12, your daily podcast on the Pac-12 Conference. It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for tuning in and making Locked On Pac-12 Podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Cindy Robinson, and the holidays are around the corner, and finding perfect gifts are tricky. Omaha Steaks makes it easy to send friends and family an unforgettable gift guaranteed to be loved. Go to omahasteaks.com and enter college into the search bar to order the perfect gift package. Joining me today is Jake Hatch from Locked On Utes podcast. Jake, actually, you're not only Locked On Utes, you're Locked On Utes, Locked On Cougars as well, right?
Yep.
Yes. A man of many talents. That's actually another thing I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
You are Locked On Cougars. Now, BYU is not a part of the Pac-12, but
don't ask me this question. It's only going to make people angry.
By the record of their, how they've done against Pac-12 schools this season, they would have been in the Pac-12 Championship this year.
Well, I can tell you this much. There are going to be some Utah fans who probably watch this, and you're right in saying that, but it's been a hot button issue here locally in the state of Utah. I work in sports radio here locally, and it's been a debate that's been raging on all week long. But BYU, they do have a 5-0 record versus the Pac-12. Pretty impressive, all things considered, as BYU followed up an 11-1 season last year with a 10-2 season this year. So good things happening in Provo, but that's not diminishing anything that Utah's done either.
At all. Utah has been amazing. Honestly, they were already kind of highly ranked in the preseason rankings, but one of those teams that was kind of a sleeper. Like, we weren't sure what exactly they were going to accomplish this season. I'm not sure if I anticipated them walking away with the Pac-12 South title, but nonetheless, excited for you guys over there in Utah. I'm not a hater, even though I'm a Washington State alum and USC grad alum. So a little hate, but not too much. I can appreciate how well you guys have played. And I'm excited that it's not one of the same old teams we're used to seeing accomplish, the title wins and stuff.
Well, and that's the thing about this is this has been a really crazy year, because when you saw Utah start as sloppy as they did, they started 1-2 in their non-conference slate. All kinds of alarm bells were figuratively ringing up here in Utah, and a lot of people were like, "What's wrong with Utah?" Well, they made the quarterback change. The offensive line got things figured out, and they have put on an absolutely incredible run. So they absolutely deserve to be playing in this Pac-12 title game. You mentioned you're a Wazoo alum. I feel bad that Oregon State can help you out and get your Cougars into that game against Utah, but I think some good things are going. I think Jake Dickert is going to actually be a really, really good coach for them up there in Pullman.
Yeah, I'm excited. Brian and I were talking about that a little bit, and just how if that was a lazy choice, an easy choice, but even if that's the case, I was happy with what we saw the rest of the season once he took over. So for me, I feel good about it. We'll see how things happen next season. But back to Utah, because this is the time to shine for them. I want to say it was like 5 games or so now that they've just been on a hot streak. We've seen it. It was only maybe like 2 games ago that they pretty much sealed the Pac-12 South title. They finished this game against Colorado, though, in a fashion that we expected, I would say. I knew the game was going to be a win for them. If anything, if they slipped up and lost this game, it would have been more so on some we did all we did this season. We can afford to lose one. But what were your thoughts going into this matchup? Did you feel like it was going to be an easy win, or was this one of those you cannot underestimate any opponent?
You can't underestimate any opponent. Let's be clear about that. But Colorado knew the script. This was a game that Utah, they just needed to show up, play with I called it a C+ B- effort, and they were going to win this game. And it's nothing against Colorado. They're trying to rebuild that program. I feel like they're going to need some time, obviously, to get things going. But Utah, yes, they just needed to get through that game because we all knew that they already clinched in Las Vegas. The only variable we were all waiting on up here is who they were going to play. And obviously we had to wait to see what was going to happen in the Oregon State matchup. Oregon wins that game, so we get the rematch in Las Vegas. It's going to be a fun game, I feel like, on Friday between these two teams as they battle for the Pac-12 title. And the crazy thing about this is 3 times in 4 years, Utah is going to be playing for that Pac-12 championship. The hope is this time they'll actually break through.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive deeper into that Pac-12 championship game. Gonna break down what Utah has to do to come out with the win and what Oregon has to do to probably thwart those plans for Utah. So we'll have that coming up next. For all of you out there that, the holidays are around the corner and you're looking for the perfect gift, Omaha Steaks makes it easy to send friends and family an unforgettable gift guaranteed to be loved. Go to omahasteaks.com and enter college into the search bar to order the perfect gift package. For $99.99, you'll get 24 entrees in the world famous bacon wrapped filet mignons, chicken breasts, sides, desserts, and so much more. When you use code COLLEGE, you'll also get an additional 8 Omaha Steaks burgers free with your order. We've all heard the reports about shortages and shipping delays, so don't wait. Order the perfect gift package today at omahasteaks.com, and you'll get 8 free burgers when entering the code COLLEGE. Okay, so I haven't personally tried Omaha Steaks yet. Jake, have you?
Oh, yeah. So funny story about that. My in-laws, my mother-in-law in particular, every Christmas, she actually orders me a package of Omaha Steaks. I'm a huge fan. That bacon-wrapped filet mignon. Filet mignon's good on its own. You can put bacon on it, that much better. So, folks,
bacon makes everything better. I'm sorry. I'm a bacon fan.
True story. Bacon does make everything better. But Omaha Steak, it's worth every penny. But you're right. We all know about the supply chain issues going on globally right now. So if you want to get it, get on it now. But it is an absolutely incredible present or a gift for a loved one, work compatriot, whatever it might be. Get on it, folks. Omaha Steaks is legit.
Okay, achieving gifting greatness with Omaha Steaks. Incredible flavor, incredible value, and 100% guaranteed. Okay, and shout out to you listeners for making Locked On Pac-12 podcast your first listen of the day. We're free and available on all platforms, so make sure you continue to check us out. Jake, okay, Utah won the Pac-12 South, got it solidified. Beat ASU out, beat UCLA out, beat USC out, all the teams that were at the top slated to take home the wins. No, it was Utah. And now they're getting the rematch against Oregon. I don't know if it's the rematch Utah wanted, but it's for sure the rematch Oregon wanted after, I'm pretty sure Oregon is still hurt by that loss against Utah. Almost put them in a position to lose the Pac-12 North, actually. So first and foremost, is the game plan for Utah in your mindset go in there like they did against them before, or is it like you have to come even harder because now Oregon's faced you? They know the game plan in a sense. They know what you can achieve. So how do you go into this matchup?
Well, the thing about this is Oregon and Utah already played, obviously, a couple weeks ago, and Utah absolutely just demolished them. It was about as thorough a beatdown as we have seen from Utah in some time. I think Utah is fully expecting Oregon is going to come in with a different game plan, a different mentality. They're going to want revenge for that beatdown there in Salt Lake City. The thing about this is Utah is playing at the peak of their powers right now. Offense is absolutely rolling. Defense has a potential defensive player of the year in Devin Lloyd leading it. They've come along very nicely. The one big question mark that Utah continues to have is their special teams. If those special teams issues rear their ugly head in this game, when we saw them rear their ugly head against Colorado, they allowed a kick return for a touchdown. Oregon State, they had 2 punt blocks. Just 2 punts blocked, excuse me. They need to make sure the special teams is sealed up. If they can avoid spectacular issues on that side of things, I feel like Utah should still be the favorite in this matchup, but I'm expecting a much better effort from Oregon in this game. I think they've licked their wounds. They've kind of learned from it. They bounced back in a big way against Oregon State last week, it felt like. And I think they're going to come in looking and saying, you know what? We didn't play our best in Salt Lake City. You're going to get our best here in Las Vegas.
I will say this season, we haven't seen like a crazy dominant team in Oregon. I think that a lot of their wins came, out of a last minute shuffle to make sure that they could seal it. And it wasn't really the Oregon team that I think everyone expected this season. Utah is presenting more like that team. Utah is presenting more dominant. They're coming in and letting the teams know that we're not here to play with you. We're going to take home this win by any means necessary. And it's not necessarily by small margins either. A lot of these teams, they've played great teams as well, as far as the Pac-12 conference goes, but have slaughtered them. Do you feel like Oregon just might not be the team to get it done this season?
The thing with Oregon is they go as their quarterback goes. So depending on how Anthony Brown decides to play in this game, that'll determine, I think, how Oregon does. They've been very reliant on their run game, but when they have won the big games they've won, you think back to that, obviously, the Ohio State upset. And when they've had their best performances, it's when he's been efficient with the ball. I don't think he is a top-tier quarterback. Let me be clear about that. But when he plays an above-average game, it gives Oregon their best opportunity to win games like this. So they're going to need him to play extremely well against Utah. If he doesn't, Utah's going to roll, I feel like, because he did not play well against the Utes in Salt Lake City up there at Rice Eccles Stadium. It was very clear that he was one of the weak links in that game for Oregon. But the other thing about this is Oregon's got to be able to slow down Utah's offense. Utah had a masterful game plan for Kayvon Thibodeau. They went away from him by and large throughout the game. They chipped him. They doubled him. They just made sure that he was not going to be a factor in this game. Oregon seems like they're a little beat up on the defensive side of the football. They need to have all hands on deck because, as I mentioned, Utah's rolling right now. Tavion Thomas running the ball, TJ Pledger alongside him in the backfield. And who can forget Cam Bad Moon Rising just doing what he's doing out there for Utah. He's been lights out since taking over the starting quarterback job.
I love it. I love it. The one thing that I do want to point out is that they'll be on neutral grounds in Las Vegas. And I believe in home field advantage. So do you feel like this is going to make all the difference in a game? Like it's going to be neutral. I'm going to imagine that Utah's going to travel pretty well to this game.
Okay, here's the thing. Obviously, I cover BYU and I cover Utah up here in the Salt Lake City market. Las Vegas to most Utahns is like an extension of the state. If their teams are playing in Las Vegas, they will make it. It's a 5.5 hour, 6 hour drive. That's nothing for Utah fans. They're going down in droves. There are going to be thousands of Utah fans in the stands. There'll be a lot of red and white in the stands down there at Allegiant Stadium. And they're going to bring a little bit of a home field atmosphere, I think, to this one. I just think that Utah fans, they know what's at stake. They also know that this is their opportunity to finally make it to the Rose Bowl. I got to win one game. They've got to go win this game, and they're going to see themselves playing in Pasadena on January 1st. That you can't you cannot get past that part of it. Utah fans understand what's at stake right now. I fully expect that they will bring a lot of that home field advantage to Allegiant Stadium, but you are right. It is a neutral field. It is a different venue than what they played in previously. I am interested to see how Oregon performs now that they're not playing in front of 52,000 fans who essentially hate their guts.
Right. I do think that is a big chance that it's going to be neutral in the audience as well, in the crowd.
Sure.
I feel like Oregon's going to travel well to this. It's the holidays. Why not, make the trip to see this game see the new stadium too.
Yeah, exactly. There's the allure of the fact that this is the new Raider Stadium, Allegiant Stadium. It's one of the crown jewels in the NFL right now. The Raiders spared no expense in building it. I think there's a lot of intrigue from these fan bases, and obviously now that the Pac-12 title game is going to be played there annually, well, I think you're going to see a lot of Pac-12 fans. Yeah, I'm going to go down there and check it out. So Oregon fans, yes, I think there are going to be plenty. They're going to be driving down from Eugene or flying from Eugene to Las Vegas. Las Vegas is an easy place to get to. We all know that. And so I'm not saying that Utah is going to have a 2-1 advantage in terms of the crowd, but I'm telling you, there are going to be thousands of Utah fans in the stands there Friday night.
I believe it. If you're one of those people who can't make the game and, we'll be watching from home, make sure you tune in. It is going to be this Friday, December 3rd at 5 p.m. Pacific time. I have to make sure that's clear because I'm I'm in California on the West Coast. I know
6
some of
o'clock
our
Mountain. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. 6 o'clock Mountain Time. I know there's a lot of Utah fans listening, and yeah, so you know when to tune in. Do not miss the game. And then for those of you that can't make it to Vegas to put a little money on this game, why don't you head on over to betonline.ag? BetOnline has you covered all season. More props, odds, and lines than ever before as football season continues the march to the playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code Locked On to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline is where the game starts. Okay, Jake, so it's not often that we get you here on the show, but we're going to change that this season. Definitely going to have you on more talking basketball throughout the season. But before we get into basketball season, you know, it's here, but it's still football. We're still in football land. And a lot of the changes happening in the Pac-12 revolves around the coaching staffs. A lot of teams lost their coaches, Washington State being one of them. And we, you know, had the interim coach, Jake Dickert. He's hired now as the new head coach. My other school that I went to grad school for, USC Trojans, have been the talk of the college world this week, and all because of Lincoln Riley coming to the school. And there's been some up and down emotions about that, you know, how he left Oklahoma. Should he have left Oklahoma? Is he the right fit for USC? Is he just a flashy name? All of these questions. I really want to get your takes on it, mainly because I want to know how you think it's going to switch or affect the Pac-12 conference.
Well, let me put this right up front. I'm not going to bury the lead here. I think it's a home run hire for USC. I think it brings a lot of name recognition to the conference. USC is the biggest brand in the conference, no matter how bad they may have been in recent years. This is a program that when USC is good, the rest of the Pac-12 benefits from it. We're all aware of that. We all saw the Pete Carroll era, what Reggie Bush, Lendell White, Matt Leinart, and Pete Carroll did. It made the Pac-12 one of the preeminent players when it came to the college football universe. In recent years, we've seen the SEC, the Big Ten kind of take over that, and the Pac-12 is kind of taking a back seat to all of that. I think Lincoln Riley moving to Los Angeles with his recruiting prowess, his youth, he's only 38 years old. He could be there for a very, very long time, and he could absolutely clean up in recruiting. We all saw what he was doing at Oklahoma recruiting California kids. Malachi Nelson, the 2023 five-star prospect, already is committed to USC after decommitting from Oklahoma. Rayleigh Brown, another five-star prospect from California, is expected to likely end up at USC as well. Lincoln Riley knows what the West Coast can bring in terms of talent, and now that he is at the preeminent West Coast institution out there, USC, I think, is on the fast track to becoming the powerhouse that the Pac-12 needs them to be. I know Utah fans and every other Pac-12 fan out there, UCLA, no matter what school, insert school name here, is terrified of the thought of USC being what they were under the Pete Carroll regime. But let's be clear. When USC is good, the rest of the Pac-12 benefits because eyes actually turn towards the West Coast. There have been so many people for so many years who said, well, why is ESPN and all these other networks not paying attention to the Pac-12? Well, when you don't have a dominant team, they don't want to, plain and simple. You look at Ohio State, they carried the Big Ten. You look at Alabama, they carried the SEC. Clemson for many, many years carried the ACC. Oklahoma has been carrying the Big 12. Well, who's been carrying the Pac-12? Oregon, maybe?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been a weird balance of Oregon. You want to say SC, but SC hasn't been nowhere near the prominence that we're used to seeing them at, like you said, since the Pete Carroll era. Not quite sure Clay Helton was the one for that school. Again, like you mentioned, I do think it's very important that whoever comes in that coaching spot has the name and the reputation to follow along what has already preceded, at USC. So I agree with you. I think the name is perfect. I think what he can possibly bring there is perfect. Now, will he actually execute is my question. Like that's the
Yeah.
big, is this gonna work?
And that's the question that all of us have with these coaching hires. Who knows? Brian Kelly going from Notre Dame to LSU. The funny thing is, I actually have a huge question mark. I've got more of a question mark about Brian Kelly going from South Bend, Indiana to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, than I do of Lincoln Riley going from Norman, Oklahoma to Los Angeles, California. I think USC, based on the reputation we've seen from what Lincoln Riley has done in the 5 years he's been a head coach at Oklahoma, he's put 3 guys in the NFL as top draft picks. 2 of them won the Heisman Trophy. Man, just think of what he might be able to do if he can get things rolling with SC. Of course, making sure he has the right guys around him are going to be important. He already brought Alex Grinch over as his defensive coordinator. I know you're probably familiar with Alex from his time working with Mike Leach at Washington State. He's a very highly thought of defensive coordinator. And the nice part is a guy like Lincoln Riley actually turns the defense over to a guy like Alex Grinch and says, hey, go do your thing. So, man, on paper, it looks like the perfect marriage between an up-and-coming coach and who's already kind of established himself. He's got the youth on his side. He's got charisma. He's got personality. Now, you got to just go out on the field and prove it. It might take a year or 2 to really, I think, get things really going. But we all know that USC, they can handpick their recruiting classes there from there in South California. So, Chip Kelly, I know you've done a good job picking up some talent that USC has not picked up in recent years. You may want to double your efforts because the Trojans are a-coming.
Yeah. Okay. Well, while the Trojans decided to go with the flashier name, which fit them in the program that they've already built, UW is going with a name that's kind of up and coming. Kalen DeBoer out of Fresno State. He's done a great job there. 12-6 record in his 2 years while he's coached at Fresno State. And I mean, considering what he's done in the Mountain West, they even beat UCLA this season. That's a big win considering how well UCLA was doing early this season. Coming into that Washington team who completely struggled this season, unlike themselves. As a Husky hater, I have to say, like, you know what it is. I'm used to seeing them play a lot better. We actually had them very high in our preseason rankings. They were supposed to be battling it out with Oregon and instead fell completely flat this season. So much so that we even beat them in the Apple Cup after a 9-year losing streak. So
Hey, celebrate that, by the way.
It
was cool to see the Cougars finally break through.
Trust me, I am. The last time I seen them win, I was in school still. So, yeah, that tells you a lot right there. No, it was a super exciting time. I actually watched the game with some of my former classmates, and we were overly excited to see it. So, good times, but are we saying UW is going back to their prominence with this hire? Like, is this a good hire for them? Because they seek to hire from the Mountain West often, and those coaches come in and do great things. We have seen.
Yeah, well, Chris Peterson was lights out. Obviously, Boise State, he passed on so many jobs, and Washington is where he wanted to be. So he was sitting back until he could ultimately get that job. And we all saw what Coach Pete was able to do up there at UW. But then the Jimmy Lake thing, it just never worked. It didn't click from the get-go, and obviously the other issues kind of just were like, okay, you're done. I'm a big fan of Kalen DeBoer. The one thing that a lot of people I think overlook is he coached at the NAIA level and went 67-3. And I know it's the NAIA level. I get that it's non-scholarship football. It's the lowest level of football in the college ranks, but that's an incredible record. He did so many good things. There are good coaches at all levels of football. And the nice part is Kalen DeBoer broke into the big time, was an offensive coordinator at Indiana, if I recall, before going to Fresno State as the head coach. He has connections with the Bulldogs. I think this is a very savvy hire. If he can continue to do what he has done at the NAIA level, now at the Mountain West level, I think UW is going to be a good team under DeBoer. He's got an offensive background. We all know that. I think the one thing that is going to be interesting to see how he does is how he adjusts to the spotlight. Because we all know when Washington is on top of the college football world, man, maybe they're the number 2 team in terms of the spotlight being the biggest in the Pac-12, because Seattle's a big market. Obviously, you're the crown jewel of the state of Washington up there. I trust me, I don't take any joy in saying that because you're a Wazoo.
Oh, just a dagger to the heart. Why don't you?
I know. But it's just when Washington's rolling, people pay attention to UW to a high level. So it'll be very interesting to see how DeBoer does. I am very excited to see how he develops as a coach there with the Huskies, but it's going to take him some time. But once he gets things rolling, I very much think he is going to be a great coach. He's going to have a really, really good system rolling for Washington.
As much as I hate to hear that, I'm just going to say as UW gets better, Washington State will get even better. That's how we're just going to look at it.
The Jake Dickert hire, I really like that. He was a very, very good coordinator at Wyoming, and Craig Bohl does good things at Wyoming. He always has good coordinators. I think Dickert is actually going to be a very, very under the radar hire because he is a promotion essentially to take over that job. But watch out, Washington State, they have an opportunity here to maybe get ahead of Washington for the first time in some time.
I know, and I love to see it. I think Jake Dickert is, while some people may respond to it as the safe choice, I think it was a smart choice considering like all that those student athletes have gone through with the switching coaches. Maybe that's like safer for them and trusting like who's already in place. And if he doesn't pan out in a year or two, you can go ahead and make the move and find somebody else. But for now, I'm okay with the choice. I'm excited about what that team is going to accomplish. You know, I almost want UW to get better. So then when we beat them, it's even more legit. You know what I mean? You could be like, they were such a good team and we still beat them. So now what? But I'm excited to see what's happening in the Pac-12. I think that next season will be even more competitive than what we saw this season. I think we saw a lot of up and down. A lot of teams not being consistent and staying true to who they are. So I think we'll see that more next season. But we still have Pac-12 Championship to look forward to. I'm going to say best of luck to Utah.
Thank you.
I probably have more disdain for Oregon and from my time competing. So in the meantime, I think I'm going to go cheer on Utah. I'm sorry, Oregon Duck fans. You guys have a lot of wins under your belts already. Let somebody else shine. That's how I see it. And then other than that, Jake, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to make sure that this isn't the last time you've joined us on Locked On Pac-12. I had a great time having you on and talking with you about the Pac-12.
Thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure to be on and happy to do it anytime you need me moving forward.
Well, I'm going to take you up on that offer. So if you start hearing me call you every week, you know, understand why.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Okay, make sure you guys check out Locked On Utes and Locked On Cougars to hear Jake give you all his analysis on BYU Cougars and the Utah Utes. You can follow along on Twitter at Locked On Utes. And what is the BYU handle? Is it Locked On Cougars?
Locked On Cougars. We originally launched it as Locked On BYU, and BYU sent us a cease and desist. So it's now Locked On Cougars. So
there you go. And then you can follow Jake at Jacob C. Hatch on Twitter. You can also follow Locked On Pac-12 podcast on Twitter at LO_Pac-12. Make sure you guys check them out on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. And then thank you so much for making this your first listen of the day. Now go ahead and make one of the other conference shows your second listen of the day. There's Locked On SEC, Locked On ACC, and Locked On Big 12, giving you everything you need to know about those conferences. Other than that, make sure you continue to stay Locked On Pac-12 on the Locked On Network.